Everyone, I'm JG. Welcome back to Music Forever, where today I'm going to be reviewing the new debut album from Harry Styles. Yeah, I didn't see this coming, but then again, who did? For those of you who are unaware, Harry Styles initially gained fame in the boy band One Direction, which is a group that I'm not a fan of at all. Honestly, quick story time. I remember back when this band was first getting popular. I was back in middle school. I was fairly young, and it was really popular to hate on the band, of course, because, lots of people did like them at the time, but their music wasn't very good. And, honestly, I didn't really hate them back then, though it was more of a, just I was a very young, just, if anything, it wasn't like the music I liked at the time, I just hated. And, as I've grown older and the band has kind of become not as popular with time, I've kind of just grown to accept that their music isn't awful, it's just really boring and bland. Honestly, sitting here, I can't even remember any of their music, which I think speaks for the quality of it. And now, I don't hate anyone that likes their music, or I don't even hate the music itself, as I said before. It's just really boring, typical boy band stuff, nothing that I'm super interested in. But here, on Harry Styles' debut album, we get to see something a bit different. He's definitely grown up a bit more. He's kind of outgrown his baby seat, if you want to say it that way. Because this album that we get here is a lot more mature than what we saw before, and it's a lot more interesting. Now, mind you, as I said before, I'm not a One Direction fan at all, and the only songs by them I've heard were just on the radio and things like that way back when. So I really don't have much to say about those albums. I don't really know about Harry Styles, what he did in that group, to what extent he was, how good he was in that group or anything like that. So I can't really compare this too much to his older stuff. Well, I can't just on the general level based on what I had heard. I can't really compare in detail this album to those albums. So I'm really just talking about this here on its own. And really that kind of makes sense because the sound here is different. Now, on the previous albums that he was a part of with One Direction was more of a a typical pop boy band kind of sound, pop rock even, I guess you could say at times. But here on this album, he goes for an old type of 70s rock style, soft rock kind of style here. And I do enjoy this style of music. I prefer my 70s rock music more in the heavier vein, but I still do like softer stuff at times. And here I think this is a good example of it being done well in this time period. The best song on the album, in my opinion, is the lead single Sign of the Times, which is just a really cool track. It reminds me of some of those songs that just have gone down in history back from the 70s and even the 60s, if you want to say. It's just these big rock songs that are just so grand that they just become staples in history. It just kind of reminds me of one of those songs. Like, if this song was released way back when, I feel like it could have grown to be one of those songs. Now, of course, it was only released for the first time a few weeks ago, so you really can't say that about it. I just get that feeling from the track that it reminds me a lot of those types of songs. It has a really grand feel to it. It kind of has an epic feel to it. The track is definitely longer, being almost 6 minutes long. That's not a typical pop thing. It's definitely more, not exactly experimental, but it's definitely more ambitious than your typical pop or rock track. Combine that with a great vocal performance as well as some of the better lyrics on the album, and you have overall a pretty great track. Listening to this album, it's very clear that Harry has a great appreciation and understanding of 70s rock music and just older rock music in general, as can be seen on this album's track listing, which tries out many different styles of older rock music that are pulled off pretty well, I would have to say, for the most part. You have some more aggressive tracks like Kiwi, which is definitely probably the heaviest song here. It's not something I expected at all to get from a guy that was once in One Direction. It's overall probably one of my favorites just for the aggression of it. It has a really fun sound to it. Overall, definitely a good track. But then you also have some softer moments like From the Dining Table and Meet Me in the Hallway that remind me of older, not as heavy songs. In fact, the guitar parts on the opening track, Meet Me in the Hallway, reminds me a bit of Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. Not like the structure or lyrics or anything like that, just the sound of the guitar reminds me of the guitar sound on that song, which is a good thing considering that's one of my favorite songs of all time. And while Harry Styles' understanding of this older type of rock music is definitely apparent on this album, he manages to pull this style off very well frequently. There are some times where it feels more cliched, and on tracks like Woman, for example, or even Sweet Creature, it's just kind of, it feels like he's trying too hard to imitate this older type of rock music, you know, with like the lyrics on Woman. It just feels very much like he's trying a bit too hard and not really bringing too much of his own spin on the genre. It just feels like he's doing something that has been done before a lot. And this album as a whole, I wouldn't say it takes that style of rock music from the 70s and way back then and brings a whole new spin to it. It's more like a tribute to those older artists, and that is a good thing because I do like the style of music. However, one of the bad things from that is that the thing is, this album wasn't released back then, so it's not, of course, one of those albums that will be super influential like the albums that inspired this project. It is a product of now, today's time period, and as a result of that, I don't see it being quite as memorable as some of the albums that clearly inspired it. And that's not a super bad complaint by any means. It just really means that I'm not quite sure how memorable this album's going to be going forward. The lyrics here on this project are also hit or miss at times, and when they hit, it does happen to be good, like on Sign of the Times, where I just you get this kind of grand feel from it, or on the opening and closing tracks, some of the more personal tracks here. And when I think when Harry's being more personal with his lyrics, I think that's when it's at its best. However, when he tries to go more for typical rock cliches and things like that, as I mentioned before on tracks like Woman, it just comes off a bit as, you know, trying too hard to be like some of the artists that clearly inspired him, and I feel like those are when the album's lyrics are at their weakest. Overall, I have to say that Harry Styles' debut album is a pleasant surprise for me. Honestly, I didn't expect something like this to come out of someone that was in a band like One Direction, you know. As I said before, I don't hate them at all, but just with how bland the music from that group was, this is a pleasant surprise, especially with tracks like Sign of the Times. I have a feeling it's going to be one of my favorite songs of the year. But, I mean, we'll have to wait and see in December when I release my favorite songs of the year list. If it stays there, I'm thinking that it will, though, just based on how much I'm liking the song now. Overall, this is just a super, you know, enjoyable record. It's 10 tracks, around 40 minutes long, just, you know, the perfect amount of time, I would say, for an album. It doesn't run too long, it doesn't run too short. It's just kind of perfectly timed. There are a few weaknesses in the lyrics and just, you know, with being a bit too much like some of the artists that inspired this project, but when Harry Styles is kind of doing more of his own thing, having some more personal lyrics and trying to experiment more with stuff on this album, I think it pays off very well, and I'm actually somewhat excited to see with what he does going forward in his music career. Of course, if he's going to follow this up with a second album, I want to see what he's going to do with it. Maybe he'll be more of a heavier sound, maybe it'll stick more to the more grand sound of Sign of the Times or something like that, but I'm excited to see what it's going to be. And I'm honestly curious to know how this album is going to, you know, perform in terms of, like, former One Direction fans that are now, you know, interested in the members' solo material, or, you know, just in terms of pop radio charts and stuff like that, because while I do know that some of the other One Direction members have had success on the radio, there was that other guy, I don't even remember his name, but he had some songs on the radio that I kind of vaguely remember. And those, I guess, performed well. I haven't heard any of these tracks just played around the radio, but then again, I don't listen to the radio all that often. But then again, the track like Sign of the Times, I really don't see being played much on the radio. It's just too bombastic and big and out there kind of for the radio, in my opinion. And just in general, these songs sound a bit too, at times, old, I guess you could say. Not in a bad way, just they're clearly inspired by an older style of music. So I'm not quite sure if they blend in quite as well with today's, you know, top 40 hits. But I can honestly see people that enjoyed One Direction's music still enjoying this, because while it is more, it's different, but it's still not exactly super inaccessible, and it's enjoyable. Of course, this is probably the best project that he's been on. As I said before, I haven't heard any of One Direction's other albums in their entireties, but I think I can honestly say that this is his best album yet, and I'm hoping that going forward he can improve even more, and I'd like to see that. So my final verdict would be, check it out if you're a fan of rock music, if you're a fan of pop music, if you're just a fan of music, and older music, you definitely need to check this out. Don't let the fact that this guy was in One Direction ruin it for you or keep you away from checking this project out, because I really don't like judging artists based on former things that they were associated with, and it's quite clear here that this is a major step above what he was doing before. Check it out. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below saying your own opinion on the album. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Thanks for watching, and stay golden.